Welcome to NASCAR America Motormouths. Nate Ryan here with Jeff Burton and Kyle Petty. We just watched the round of 8 middle race there at Homestead-Miami Speedway, won by Kyle Larson. And Jeff, you've been saying it all week. The guy who can put his car next to the wall and push is going to be the fastest, probably going to win the race. And I'd say the guy who won the race probably had his car pinned against the wall more than anybody else.
Well, let's start over. First, you start the show by saying greetings. That's your...
Sorry, greetings.
Thank you.
Greetings.
So now I feel like we're on the show.
Now it's live.
Thank you. So, listen, no surprise. I mean, Kyle Larson, we've seen him at Homestead multiple times, looking like the fastest car. I think showing a ton of respect to guys facing for a championship, not getting in there messing with them. But you know, Homestead's one of those racetracks where if somebody gets up on that wall and they're ripping it and their car is driving well, they're going to beat you. And there was times in this race where Kyle Larson's a half a second faster than the guy running second. I mean, that's just crazy.
That's what we were talking earlier, and that's why I said there were times late in a run when he was 2 and 3 and 4 tenths faster than anybody on the racetrack, and you were like, how and goodness gracious name did that happen? I want to give you a tip of the hat here. That's great. That was great analysis and a great call when Denny got in the wall, and you said there's 1 point, there's 2 points, that brings that home to the fans to say that's where he's losing it. It's not. I don't care where he finishes. These are points that he's given up. But you look at Kyle Larson, and from the time Kyle Larson, I think Kyle Larson was in the B group of practice. I want to go back and say, in that break, he went out and started putting up times in the B group that was a lot slower than the A group that morning, and his times were like, okay, he's in a different place. He's in a different place than either one of these groups. And it never checked up, man. All weekend long, it stayed the same.
Was this maybe one of the best races Kyle Larson's ever driven? Obviously, he's had a great career, won the championship last year, won 10 races last year. But KP and I were talking about this earlier, Jeff, that, 3-hour race, he led 199 laps. He built 8-9-second leads at some points, and I don't want to diminish the significance. He was like 6 inches from the wall at 190 miles an hour for more than 2 hours.
You know, listen, I don't want to. I mean, he could do no wrong last year. Yeah. You know, he had so many great races last year. I'd have to go back and revisit all of them, but you know, he had so many great races last year that. I'm more surprised that he wasn't able to do that this year. That we didn't see the Kyle Larson this year that we saw last year.
About that too.
And we've seen him make more mistakes this year than we saw him make last year. Last year he just looked like Superman, you know, just made it look easy. This year he's shown some vulnerability. So on a year where he's made some mistakes and not been as perfect as he was last year. I know he wasn't perfect last year, but it seemed like he was. We've seen more, you know, cracks in the armor this year, and then to go to one of the most difficult racetracks and put that together. But listen, I want to say this: it just works for some drivers. We saw it on Saturday. You know, we saw it on Saturday with Noah Gragson. Yeah. There were times he was 4 tenths faster than the field. That racetrack, when you get it figured out, there's a few drivers that just flat out are better on old tires than everyone else.
And to that point, I'll say every driver has that. Every driver has one racetrack. 2 racetracks that they go to, and no matter what they do. I mean, he goes to Darlington, he just kills it. You know what I mean? There's certain racetracks that you just go to. And I said, like when we were talking about it, I said, I looked up yesterday and I was fascinated the whole race because I'm sitting there just like you. You've got the times. I don't care what he's doing on a racetrack. I'm watching his times. You know what I mean? And everybody else is up here in like 34-20 or 35-20s, and he's like a 34-65. I'm like, where'd that lap come from, man? Where did that lap come from? And you physically see it on the racetrack. You see him just going away from somebody with the same tires on the same racetrack at the same time. And it's like I told him, last year I watched him win races, and we've all been through that where we've seen guys where when it's their time, it's just their time. It's just your time. Nothing's going to go wrong, man. You pull in the garage area and take the valve covers off, and every valve spring is broken. But you finish the race, and you won. And that's the way it is. So everybody has that. Last year, he just flat outrun people a lot of times. Yesterday, he outrun people, but he did it in a lot more methodical way. It seemed like, it's like, okay, I'm going to give you 6 seconds out. Now I'm going to bust a lap and show you what I can do. And then I'll just back it up here. So it just seemed to be different yesterday just watching him run.
I think, too, a little reminder for us how good the mile-and-a-half race has been this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great way to go out for a mile and a half.
That was a good capper.
I looked out of the window at one point, and he was entering turn 3, and the second place guy was in the middle of 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
And they hadn't run that long. Like,
No.
it wasn't like, I mean, and I'm like, wow. Like, and we used to see that a lot.
Yeah.
We used to see on mile and a half somebody get out like that a lot. It just struck me like, oh my gosh, it's been a while since we've seen this. I mean, it was just complete total domination.
And you were saying all week, Jeff, that like it was all about the guy who was willing to push it the most, be closest to the wall, was going to be rewarded the most. And Kyle Larson said it. He hit the wall 3 times, but in the old car, that would have stopped him. The next gen, it kind of dovetails what you were saying. It rewards guys who are willing to put it on the limit and just push, and that's how he won the race.
It just does. It's crazy. I can't understand. I don't know why at that racetrack in particular that being that close to the wall is an advantage over being that close to the wall.
Yeah.
I don't, and it seems greater there than other places. We've seen Dale Jr. and some other guys get right against the wall at some racetracks, and it looks really, really good, but it's not a half a second.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a major difference in being able to really get and really be right on that wall. And then the willingness to hit the wall, the willingness to say, you know what, I'm going to hit the wall some. It's just part of what we're going to do today. I got to do it the right way.
Yeah, that's the deal.
Yeah, and everybody just be committed to it.
That is the deal. That's the fascinating part for me is you see the guys that go up there and run it, like Larson.